Live back with another Monday edition of Your Wildest Fantasy
Oh, yeah.
Football Show. A lot to get covered over the next, hopefully, hour, maybe more. Precedent says much more, but we will try to avoid that and keep it as succinct as we can. I want to start off, though, by saying there's a lot of things that happened this weekend that just make no sense.
Absolutely no sense at all.
Mike White throws for 400 yards. The Jets win. Derrick Henry, who has just been a monster, never hurt in his career, goes down with injury.
Right.
Looks like it is going to be at least fantasy season ending.
Right.
The Chargers fall into the Patriots. The Jags lost, which remains like a little bit of a constant. Reassures me that the world, has a little bit of consistency to it. But it just kind of reminds me that we're very dumb people for doing this show and trying to predict what's going to happen in the NFL when Mike White can go off for 400 yards and be a top 5 fantasy football quarterback.
Michael Carter, who you shit on relentlessly the past 2 weeks.
It's not true. When have I done that?
Number one fantasy.
You shit on him. You said you shouldn't start him over somebody, Ramondre Stevenson, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I said I was wrong.
Well, I think that's the point of this, though. The point is that our job here is to kind of predict what's going to happen.
Right.
And that's literally impossible. So we hope that the entertainment value of us failing to predict what's going to happen is worth going through never predicting what's going to happen. We get it right sometimes, but I think it's more for the entertainment value.
Right. We're just here to make you smile.
Or emote in some which way that satisfies you. Right. You don't have to smile. Yeah. Maybe you enjoy being mad and we make you mad. Who knows?
Hope so.
But that would make you smile on the inside, I suppose.
Right. So either way.
How do you smile on the inside? I don't know. But Mike White was smiling every which way in his monster win over the Cincinnati Bengals. 5-2 Bengals. Bengals were looking like one of the hotter teams in football until this game happened. Obviously, you mentioned Michael Carter with a monster day. I wanted to get your opinion on Michael Carter and also just all of these Jets players that had monster days or big days. He was the number one out of it. He's actually the top scoring fantasy player of this week.
Right.
But Carter put up 32, Ty Johnson put up 19, Crowder 16, Elijah Moore 13, Tyler Kroft 10, Mike White 26. Which of these good fantasy performances matter for the Jets?
I don't know. It's not going to be consistent. Mike White is not going to throw for 400 yards a game. He's not going to do it. Michael Carter is not going to be the number one fantasy option week in, week out. Ty Johnson isn't going to drop 20 points every single game for the rest of the season. I don't know. Jamison Crowder, I feel like is the most accurate. He's going to get you probably double digits for the rest of the season, or around it. I don't think he's explosive, 20-point game, 16 rest of the season. Rise around to make sense to me. So I guess the one who I'm most Jamison Crowder.
Okay.
He's the guy I'm most all right, I'm okay with having him on my team and expecting this sort of level. Whereas Michael Carter and Ty Johnson, I don't think they're going to combine for 50 plus points every single week. I don't think that's realistic.
I think Michael Carter is the only fantasy, just going to be the only fantasy consistent player on the Jets. They have so many weapons as far as maybe not like weapons. Maybe that's like
That's
a wrong word to use for the Jets receivers. But like so many just solid players on the outside that I get kind of worried for consistency there, especially when Crowder and Elijah Moore kind of play a similar role. And that's being like that underneath wide receiver, which the other underneath wide receivers would be the two running backs as well. So it's kind of all concentrated in that short yardage area of the field as far as the successful weapons in Mike White's first game go. I think Crowder is probably the receiver I'd be most happy to have, but I don't know that I'd want him just because I don't know the crazy upside. Where in Michael Carter's case, I think there is upside there as far as just the pass catching capability of a running back. Like he's getting as many looks out of the backfield as anyone, and now is starting to see the rushes add up as well. I mean, he has 8+ catches over both of the last 2 games, and had 15 rushes this week. So to have 24 touches in a game, in a close game, I get that it was a high-scoring game, but in a close game is a very good sight from any running back.
Yeah, I mean, I like Michael Carter. I just don't think, as far as consistency goes, he's going to drop 30 points every single week.
Oh, agreed. But we just got a question in that says, if I remember the matchup screenshot from Friday's show, seems like Michael Carter would have been a great asset to your team this week, Toady.
I mean, I think Michael Carter is a great asset that concerning fantasy out.
There's a good spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been a great asset. Absolutely.
But like Michael Carter's value the rest of the season, do you view him as is he in the like running back 2 rank?
I think he's RB2, lower end RB2 for sure. Not up there with a mix and sort of RB2, but definitely like a back end. I like him more than people who are splitting workloads, like like a 10 day. I'm not. I mean, I like for some weeks, but some weeks I don't. So I think it's harder some start consistently and be happy or sad based off of matchup. But I like him. RB2.
Yeah, I kind of have it in that same range, and with an opportunity to be higher. I mean, especially in PPR formats, if he keeps up this insane passing work.
Right.
I mean, getting 8 catches a game out of the backfield is unreal. So you're definitely excited if you have Michael Carter. As for the Bengals, I just want to talk about this quick because we talked about it last week, the value of Joe Mixon. And you mentioned Joe Mixon as an RB2. I've consistently said he's like one of the highest RB2s, but that's what he is. He's not an RB1. This week he played like an RB1. He had 25.1 fantasy points, 14 for 33 and a touchdown on the ground, 4 for 58 and a touchdown through the air. Are you selling high on Mixon right now, or are you holding?
Depends what you get for him. Like I said, I think everything's always tradable. I don't think there's ever some team who you're just like, no matter what, you're not getting rid of. I think the price has to be right. For Mixon, I wouldn't sell him for an RB2. I'd sell him for RB1 if you're going to look at him. But I think you just keep him. I mean, I think you keep Joe Mixon on your roster. Doesn't make sense to trade him right now. He only has he's got 7 touchdowns, 5 on the ground. That offense is going to score.
Only 1 week of single digits in full point PPR anyway.
Right. And I mean, I'm not worried about it. I think Joe Mixon's a fine running back. Definitely one of the upper echelon of RB2s with one of, if not the best potential to be an RB1. So I keep him. But obviously, if the trade package looks right for you and your team, always send it.
If you could trade him for Nick Chubb, would you do that?
I would, just because they're about the same in my eyes. They're both could be RB1s, could be RB2s, just because Nick Chubb has to share with Kareem Hunt. So
Kareem Hunt's out for a few more weeks, probably on the longer end.
Right, but we just saw Nick Chubb put up a 7.9 point dud.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt. I mean, the whole offense looked terrible anyway. Watching the game was awful.
Yeah, we'll get to that one a little bit later. I just wanted to throw that out there as a little comparison.
Right.
I would trade high on Mixon, by the way, personally. But again, like you said, it depends on the value. He is the highest of high-end RB1s or RB2s, excuse me. So if you can get an RB1, go for it.
Right.
Tennessee, Indy, heartbreak. Just disappointment, tears. These are all words that describe my feelings watching this game, as well as maybe just me in general life. But I think in big part of that is due to performances like this that I have to bear on a weekly basis. I'm not asking for your pity. I'm just asking for your understanding. If you see me on the street just crying, I'm not asking for you to be like, oh, like, can I do something to make you feel better? That's not your job. I'm just asking you to understand and be like, I see like what that kid's going through. And I don't want to give him pity or feel too bad for him, but I want to show him that I understand. Maybe instead of like anything real major, just like a nice little like hand on the shoulder and be like, hey, bud, don't say everything's going to be all right because it's not, but like I understand. So for fantasy wise, Derrick Henry, obviously this is the big story. He is going to have surgery. I believe it either said today or tomorrow. And he is expected to miss roughly 8 to 10 weeks with a broken bone in his 5th metatarsal.
Yep.
In his foot. 8 to 10 weeks, that would put him in roughly like week 16 to 18, like at the best. So fantasy wise, unless you're competing for a championship, probably not going to be back. What do you do if you're a Derrick Henry owner? I get that I just said that, and that might say you just drop him and move on, but
I think you drop him. Like there is no, I can't think of an argument for keeping someone who's about to have surgery on it, which could potentially, I already said potentially season from new people that have. And even if he comes back, like he had surgery, he's a giant man. His foot's not going to be as like, he might need like a little more time than normal just because he is 6'3", 250 pounds. He's going to need more time than the average, 5'10", 160-pound human being. I think you just drop him. You can pick up someone off waivers, running back, probably since you just lost the best running back in fantasy football right now. But I don't think you hold on to him. I don't think you use your IR spot on Derrick Henry. It's sad, but I mean, I don't think you do it just because best case scenario. He will have surgery tomorrow. Just got the update right now. I don't think you keep him. I don't think you do, unless you have a crazy argument right now for why you should keep Derrick Henry on your team. I don't think you do it.
I would like to keep him through waivers or keep him through until we know a little bit more and it's just like solidified. I feel like I know that I should drop him, but I want to hear more. So if you can hold on to him, then do so. And that might all change by tomorrow and not matter. And my guess is it probably will. But if you can hold on to him just until we hear like from the team what the recovery time is and stuff like that, or just get a little bit more detail on it, I would try to. But if you have to drop him for somebody, then I understand that as well.
I mean, Adam Scheffner already said could potentially be out for season. Adam Scheffner is normally right on these sort of things. That's why I'm kind of slightly more premature than you right now and just saying drop him. But I don't hate it if you want to hold out till Wednesday, till after he has surgery tomorrow, and like hear it for your own ears or whatever, and be like, oh, he is going to be out for the rest of the season, like Toady predicted. But if you want to wait,
well, I think a lot of people, not you, Adam Scheffner,
right?
repeat.
I'm just saying. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that you are probably going to be right, but I don't want to be the guy who drops. Like when we heard about Russell Wilson, we heard that it might be like a lot longer recovery than it seems like it's going to be. And we saw that with George Kittle was supposed to be out all of last year and he returned later in the season. So like with these kind of injuries, I just get scared. I would say that some guys might get some news that makes it so they can come back a little bit earlier. And that makes me a little bit more hesitant, but I can't blame anybody for dropping Henry if they need to. Last thing, Michael Pittman, you have to put him in your lineup until he shows you otherwise.
Yeah. I thought he would be in most people's lineup already. He is rostered in 85% of leagues, starting, I believe, in less than 50, actually. That's kind of dumb, but you should start him as a wide receiver 2 or a flex. Look good. So, you didn't see that?
I heard something. I don't know what it was.
Hilton concussion is put out for 30 days against the Jets. So,
okay. I was able to cut through the static for that one.
Right. Hilton got a game. He will not play on Thursday anymore. So, I mean, Pittman's poised. Good game.
I feel bad for TY with just what he's going through and all these injuries for him. But for Pittman, one of our concerns and really like our only concern was that when TY came back, he was going to demand targets. It doesn't look like TY is ever going to be able to like come back. Unfortunately, I hate to say it as a Colts fan, to like the number 1 status just because he can't stay healthy and stay on the field. So it seems like they would have to limit him. That really opens the gates for Pittman to be the number 1 in Indy. Moving into the Rams and the Texans. The Rams obviously having a monster game.
Yeah.
I didn't really have anything for them. Did you have anything on them?
For the Rams, I said great day for Higbee. I mean, everyone looked good. I mean, it was nice to watch. And their defense has got a big buff. In case anyone missed it, Von Miller just got traded to the Rams for a 2nd and a 3rd round draft pick this year. So defense, he's not, I'll say that, but Von Miller is still a force on defense and just a insanely smart defensive mind to help booster their team, which I think only helps them this year on offense.
Yeah, and you just like to see a team like in every other sport, whether it's NBA or MLB, we see these teams kind of go all in when they get the feeling that this is the year. And it's nice to see a team kind of do that in the NFL. We normally don't see as much trade action in the NFL at the deadline as we see in those other major sports. So to see a team be like, okay, we have it rolling right now. We are one of the best teams in football. The only team we lost to is who they lose to Tampa Bay. That was it.
The Rams, I think so.
Or did they they lost to Tampa Bay or did they blow them out? It might have been the Cardinals. They got blown out by the Cardinals. Sorry.
I mean,
They beat Tampa Bay.
they beat a lot of teams. They beat Giants, Lions, Texans, Houston. They must have lost to the Cardinals early on.
They did lose I remember them getting blown out by the Cardinals. But for that to be their only loss says something about them. And I think this trade doesn't really have like a crazy fantasy impact because how much better are they going to be able to get offensively? They have pretty much everyone rolling. Like Robbie Anderson, not Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson is not rolling. Robbie Woods, who is everybody kind of talking down on him, just disappointed that Cooper Kupp had the breakout. But Robbie Woods is playing pretty well in comparison to like where people drafted him. Might be a little bit of a disappointment, but like still in that teen ranks. So this offense is kind of just rolling.
Right.
As for Houston,
What
was that?
Sexy Rexy is back.
So Rex Burkhead led the team in fantasy points with 13.8, led the running backs, I should say, in fantasy points. 4 carries, 21 yards, and a touchdown. 3 catches for 27. A lot of people after the Mark Ingram trade were picking up David Johnson. David Johnson did not do so hot, but nobody really did that well in this backfield. So that kind of leads to my question of like, is this a viable fantasy backfield to invest in? Or are you just like avoiding everyone here?
Avoid it.
Agreed. That's probably what we should have been doing at the beginning when everyone was picking people up. But I think, I mean, what did you really add David Johnson for? Like, I don't think you were making much of an investment in him. So I suppose it's worth it to take a look. And now we know there's not much going in Houston other than Brandon Cooks. Going on to Pittsburgh at Cleveland. We mentioned this one a little bit earlier. Disappointing day for both offenses, although Pittsburgh was able to have a few more fantasy viable options.
Mm-hmm.
Najee, Pat Freiermuth was probably the big one here as far as a fantasy surprise.
Right.
10 plus in back-to-back games, 4 for 44 and a touchdown on 7 targets. Ebron was out with a hamstring injury, so that might have cleared things out for him. But is Freiermuth, I guess we can talk about this in a little bit more detail tomorrow, but is Freiermuth worth a look on your waiver wire?
No. I mean, not an immediate one. He's not going to be, if I have to pick 1, 2, or 3, he's not going to be my guy unless I'm desperately needing a tight end.
I guess that would be your situation. If you're streaming tight ends, do you think that Pat Freiermuth could be the guy to take and maybe fill that spot for the rest of the season?
No. I don't see it. He only has 3 games this season with double digits, so like I don't want to overreact to it.
2 of them are the last 2 games, though.
I mean, true, but I don't know. I don't love it. I think Claypool comes into a little bit more. I mean, he had a down game for Claypool, and I think Jonte Johnson gets more looks. So, or reels in more catches. Sorry, he got 13 looks, but I think he started bringing in more than half of them.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson is such a I think underrated fantasy asset. Quickly on him, I mean, he just gets so many looks and so many catches that, especially in PPR, he's going to put up points for you, regardless of whether he has that many yards or not. But back to Pat Freiermuth, I think he's an interesting one. I'm like you. I might be a little bit more favorable, but I'm not convinced yet that he is that guy. I'm very intrigued, I would say. But Am I spending my top waiver claim on him? I suppose we will see tomorrow. A little tease for you there. On the Cleveland side of the ball, we kind of talked about Nick Chubb, but I don't think there are many worries about Nick Chubb being able to put up more than 7.9 fantasy points the rest of the way. I think more of the concern here is probably with a guy who was in our episode title today. Odell Beckham was 1 for 6. That adds up to 1.6 in full point PPR. And I think the more worrying thing than that, if it can get much more worrying, is he only had 1 target, only has 2 10-point games in 6 games played, and 0 touchdowns. Is Odell in droppable territory? Like, are you feeling okay throwing him out into the waiver wire?
I am. I mean, I notes for the game where I said no one showed up to play. The Browns looked dismal out there. Watching the game, I mean, their defense was missing a couple pieces, and Pittsburgh is a rival.
You got it.
Nope, not even gonna try it. Anyway, it didn't look good watching anyone play. But yeah, watching Odell not even get looked at was just discouraging to see. Like, it wasn't even like Baker was like looking at him and then gets sacked or like takes off and runs it, you know. Like, he just like refused to look in Odell's general vicinity. And I wouldn't hate it if you dropped him. I mean, at this point, you're holding on to the name. And like, what's the name got you so far? The name's got you 2 10-point weeks and then a lot of duds.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you just said right there. You're holding on to the name. I would, because of the name and because I think if he were to go off for a week, it's worth more than if I'm trying to think of like some waiver wide receivers, but like if KJ Osborne went off for a week, like it's just worth more because of the name as far as trade value. I don't know that I'd be keeping Odell hoping that he works out on my team. I'd be keeping Odell hoping that he works out for a week and I can ship him off to someone else to deal with. Or that even now I might be able to ship him off for probably a waiver wire, like guy that might just be on a different team. Like if you're looking, sadly, if you're looking for like one of your handcuffs, say that you have Darrell Henderson in a league and you don't have Sony Michel. If you want to trade Odell for Sony, you might be able to get that done. So like that's kind of where Odell is right now. And I think I would keep him just based on the name. But like I, again, wouldn't be upset if someone dropped him. I wouldn't be able to be like, that's wrong.
I mean, KJ Osborne, just to cheer on my Vikings here, doubled Odell's fantasy and also has 3 games over 10 points. And his duds this year have been a little bit above Odell's duds in terms of fantasy points. So, I mean, I honestly, being a Viking guy and also just seeing Odell's like literal lack of productivity out there, I'd probably do the KJ Osborne for Odell.
See, I don't think that you're wrong as far as productivity wise. I just think like somebody will bite on Odell quicker than they will bite on KJ Osborne purely for the name.
For the name, of course, yeah. I think you should have got rid of Odell after week 6, if not 3 when he came back.
Agreed. Last thing here, are you keeping Dearness Johnson? He had 9.9 fantasy points, but if you look a little bit closer into it, he only had 5 touches, 4 for 22 on the ground and a touchdown, 1 for 7 receiving. He played 31% of the snaps. I think I'm leaning towards keeping him. I don't think that I mean, it depends. I guess that might be the definition of like, don't drop him just to drop him. If you're dropping him for a top waiver guy, and that's the only guy that you can afford to lose, then sure. But I imagine if you're picking towards the top of waivers, you probably aren't in that situation. And yeah, that's kind of how I feel on Deontay Johnson or Ernest Johnson.
Ernest Johnson. I wouldn't like scream at you if you got rid of Ernest Johnson.
Would you scream at me in general?
Maybe like if you like stepped on my toe and like you like made it bleed, probably.
Foot injuries are bad. We just talked about those.
Like, or if you like tickled me too long and like I started like couldn't breathe, I'd probably like try to yell at you, but like it wouldn't really work. It'd be like, you know,
Yeah, she can't breathe.
Yeah, terrible. I don't know if I would drop Ernest Johnson. Like I said, the whole Browns organization didn't show up this week, so.
Agreed. I would hold on to him if you can. Going into Philadelphia and Detroit. Very lopsided game here. Philly got the win in this one, but I really don't know what Philly wants to do. Like, I feel like winning is not, and maybe this is the wrong game to say it, but winning does not come first in Philadelphia. It's like pissing off fantasy managers, talking about like planting seeds in a very like metaphorical way, not get your head out of the gutter. But Sirianni likes to do that. And then 3 might be winning. So Kenneth Gainwell, we were kind of like hyping up. I think everyone was hyping up coming into this week.
Mm-hmm.
He was the clear number 2, really the only other guy that got on the field when Miles Sanders was the lead back. He had 13 for 27, 2.7 fantasy points. He had 31% of the snaps, second behind Boston Scott, and probably ended up ahead of Jordan Howard, who was at 25%, only because of garbage time. Obviously, they had, as you could tell, a big lead, and most of his carries came during that when they took out most of the starters. So I really don't know anything about this Philadelphia team, and I think that's exactly what Sirianni, like, he's probably cackling in his khakis right now, just at how confused and disappointed I am, as well as many fantasy football people across the world.
Yeah, I mean, way to go, Eagles defense. If you started them, 20 points. Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't know what to make of the backfield now. That was Boston Scott and Jordan Howard kind of coming out of nowhere. They had a combined 1.3% start rate, so that's pretty good. Boston Scott just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this game besides just mind-boggling.
Jordan Howard having a day is just one of the crazier things to happen. That's one of the things, like, back at the beginning of the show that, like, we don't know what's going to happen. That could have never been predicted. There was a year in which I drafted Jordan Howard in the first round of fantasy football and DeMarco Murray in the second round of fantasy football. And I was so happy. That's what this game reminded me of. I was like very happy. I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. DeMarco Murray was on the Titans. I don't think he was good at all, but I ended up winning that year. It was a good year. As for the other thing I had in this game, I'd probably say, we talked about this a little bit, but like, you can drop Jamal Williams, right? Like, I don't think you need to have him on your team. Again, a guy that, like, I wouldn't just drop for the sake of dropping. I'm not sure that I would do that for anybody, but he's out. He was out this week due to a thigh injury, despite practicing in a limited fashion Thursday and Friday. He has a bye next week, so you could probably drop him in most, like, I would say in like most 12-team leagues. And if he wanted to pick him up the following week, I think he would still be there.
I am less optimistic to drop him. Again, if something crazy happened and someone unreal at the running back position was there, then sure. But I don't think you do yet. It was a thigh injury that kept him out. Jamar Jefferson has one game under his belt. Congratulations him, but again, it's like a Jordan Howard sort of game in my mind of like, this is not going to happen week in, week out. Probably he's going to get maybe 1-2 more games in this season. DeAndre Swift looked human, so I think Jamal Williams is someone that you need to keep on your team. Again, barring like some crazy, I don't know everyone's waiver wire, but for most teams, I think you keep Jamal Williams just because I think they get a bye this week. Next week week 10 they're playing Pittsburgh. I mean, tough run defense over there, but I still think he'll be able to play, and I think he can catch footballs. I mean, moderately good at that, so he should be in for a decent week when he returns. And I think a week off is going to help him recover.
Yeah, for me, it's not as much about the other backs there as it is with Swift and just what we've seen. I mean, he hasn't had a double-digit week since week 3, and that was a touchdown that got him over the hump there. I just don't think that you need to have him unless you have DeAndre Swift. Then I would want him on my team. But in any other situation, I feel fine to drop him for another viable option if you need to. And that's probably where I would lean with it. I understand if you want to keep him, though.
There is a rumor going around he might fly to the Titans. So that is another reason why I'm kind of there's nothing confirmed yet, obviously, but
who said that rumor? I haven't seen that.
I don't know. I literally just got a tweet with Jamal Williams' name, and I said, "Oh," and then I lost it. But I'm pretty sure, since I saw it once for a half a second, it's obviously going to be true. Start the rumor, start the spread, start the hype. Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, if you speak it, it will happen.
I hope so. That'd be so cool.
That's why I was afraid. We'll talk about my trade later. Right. I was afraid to offer it to you, even though I don't think it was that great of a trade, but I had to throw it out there. And for the Titans, one last quick thing with that. There are reports that Adrian Peterson is coming in to work out, which is kind of wild that Adrian Peterson's knees are apparently in better shape than Todd Gurley's. That's just crazy to me.
I love Adrian Peterson, huge Viking guy. If you're new to the show, love the Vikings all the way. But Adrian Peterson, he was great for us for a while. We just gotta, greatness has to leave at some time.
I think we got to temper some of the praise for Adrian Peterson because this is a kids show. San Francisco at Chicago Bears. That was a low blow on my part. I apologize, Adrian Peterson. I'm sure you were a lot great. No, I don't want to say great. I don't know. Yeah, 49ers at Bears. Cody, do you know, so a lot of top quarterbacks in the league. Not a lot of them, can live it up in fantasy. Some can. Tom Brady, one of the GOATs, finished as a QB5 this week.
Right.
One spot ahead of him. Do you know who was there? QB4 on the fantasy week. Some may say one of the toughest weeks to finish top 4 QB too.
What do you mean? San Francisco is ranked 28th against opposing.
Well, now they are.
They were going. What were they? 27 before?
I don't know.
I mean, Justin Fields literally only got it because he ran. But I mean, sure, Justin Fields did good for fantasy, did not do
Why do you have I just want to ask you a question.
right.
Why do you have Kyler Murray on your fantasy team?
Why do I have Kyler Murray on my fantasy team?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is going to be a lot better than Justin Fields rest of the season.
Why is he going to be better? Like, why is he a good fantasy football option?
If we're going to go into this, we'll go into it, I guess. Kyler Murray has 0 games with less than 228 passing yards. And that makes
Why is 228 a real threshold?
No, I'm just going to show you something real quick here. Justin Fields has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Every single game underneath 210 yards.
Well, I'm not comparing. I'm not even comparing the two.
You just
I'm
did.
saying
And why?
what is your, like, when you drafted Kyler Murray,
Right.
why were you drafting him?
Kyler Murray has an insane amount of weapons on his team, and he can also like pick up a quick first down for you. Justin,
How?
like through the air, through his feet.
There we go. Through his feet.
Right.
That's the part that I wanted to get to.
Okay.
So
He also,
why is it bad that Justin Fields runs for 100 yards?
it's bad when you run for 60 less yards than you throw the ball. That's where I had the same issue every single time I see it. I mean, if we're
Why
gonna,
is that bad?
because you're not. So it's good for fantasy. It's bad for like a quarterback.
That's all I'm getting at.
I'm saying like Jimmy G ran for 2 touchdowns and 4 yards. Like I think that's a great quarterback right there. That's like the sort of mobility that I think you're hoping for, because he also threw it for 300 plus yards and no touchdown, and he still outscored Justin Fields or whatever his name is here.
Also outscored Kyler Murray.
Everyone outscored Kyler Murray this terrible week for Kyler Murray. I said that on Friday when we did the show.
He did. Did he?
That terrible week for him. I don't know what you.
Oh yeah, Kyler Murray. I don't know if I can legally say Kyler Murray was on our show, but if he was, maybe just in spirit, he kind of spoke in the background and said, "Yeah, I had a terrible week."
I did. I am gonna toot my own horn since you're gonna try to bash me here.
I'm not trying to bash you.
No,
I just said you tried to bash Justin Fields, and then it was just my due diligence to.
Okay, Justin Fields has 2 weeks above 10 points. Congratulations. Good job, Justin. Oh, no.
Was it 3 weeks?
Oh, no.
What?
Brown, all pro right tackle, out for Jack Conklin. Jack Conklin suffered the injury on Sunday's loss. He's expected to come back some point during the season, but Browns just another bang up on their team. Their defense was already banged up when they played the Steelers, but now their offense is just getting even more banged up. It's gonna be rough.
That was a very strong response.
Well, I'm a newly loved Browns fan, so like now it's just kind of like I'm used to the Vikings disappointing me, mainly Kirk Cousins, but like I'm used to him disappointing me. But like the Browns just get banged up is just it's a new level of sadness I didn't know I could have, because it's now so I'm like, oh no, break my heart once, shame on me, but now I'm like openly getting my heart broken by 2 teams. So,
yeah, and choosing to take on the Browns was definitely a risky choice.
You know, people don't remember you for the mistakes you made. They remember you for the choices you chose. Remember that.
Okay. I will try. Going into Carolina at Atlanta, I think the big story here doesn't really have too much to do with the game. Calvin Ridley is taking a step away from football to focus on his mental health. We don't really know what Ridley is going through right now. I mean, obviously, wish the best for him. He's a heck of a football player. Obviously, like there's a reason that he was drafted in the top 5 for fantasy wide receivers this year, or the top 6. So he's obviously a heck of a football player, and we hope that he gets everything that he needs to get situated, just get right with him, so that he can come back and do what he's awesome at, which is playing
Right.
football in the NFL. So for our show, and obviously we are going to talk about the fantasy impact of this.
Right.
It causes a lot, kind of not only causes issues with the people who are challenges for the people who have Ridley on their roster, but also has a domino effect on the rest of the Atlanta Falcons players because Calvin Ridley, obviously a big part of this offense. So first question is, what do you do if you have Calvin Ridley on your team?
Stash him.
Agreed.
I mean, obviously, mental health is a big thing. People don't talk about it enough. So we don't know. It's not like a shoulder injury where you're like, oh, he's gonna be out 4 to 5 weeks and he'll come back and it'll be fine. Mental health is like something that just nags on you for a while. So you don't never know. But I think you stash him unless Calvin Ridley comes out and says I will not be playing football ever again, which I hope he doesn't say. But I think you just stash him on your bench.
Agreed. I think if you have an IR spot in your league, he is out right now or has the out designation.
Right.
So if you can put him on your IR spot, I would do so with that. The next question is, how does this affect the other players on Atlanta? Which I guess kind of connects back to the game because we got to see this team without Ridley.
Right.
Yeah.
So they played the number 1 defense in the league, the Carolina Panthers. Like, just been unreal this year. And they did it without Calvin Ridley. And Cordell Patterson almost puts up a 20 bomb again. Like, he got 18.2. I'm much higher on Cordell Patterson than you are. But I think, like, love him or hate him, you have to roster him and you have to start him. Playing against Carolina is no easy challenge, even when you're at full strength. Minus Calvin Ridley, your number 1 wide receiver on your team, and to still be able to do this, like, that shows just like how special of a talent Cordell Patterson is going to be. I mean, doing this against the Panthers, I mean, I'm no longer scared against the Saints, Dallas, New England, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, Carolina again. Like, I'm not. If you can put up 18 points against Carolina, best defense in the league, I have no doubt that you can put up 18 points against these other teams. So, Calvin Ridley or Cordell Patterson, someone who I like. I like Kyle Pitts. I think it was just a down game for him. Only 2 for 6. I think that gets better. He obviously is going to get more looks now. So I like Kyle Pitts. I like Cordell Patterson. I like Young Ho Ko if you're into a kicker.
Who?
Yeah, Ko. K-O-L.
Like the corporation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like him if you're into a kicker. Need someone. They are going to lose someone as, deep, wide out there. So potential for more field goals, potentially. But besides them, not too many as of yet. Keeping an eye on Russell Gage and Taji Sharp. But like I said, I don't think you need to make a jump decision.
Yeah, I think these wide receivers are pretty unpredictable at this point. Definitely too much of a risk for me to invest in until we see more and maybe a little bit more of a pattern of who's going to get those targets from the wide receivers. I think that this, like you said, is a big boost for the running backs. The running backs saw 10 catches. And I say running backs because I think mainly Cordell Patterson. I think he's kind of going to solidify himself into that back end RB1, RB2 range, in my opinion. You are higher on him and see him like more in that, would you say like mid-range RB1s?
Yeah, so to me, there's not Joe Mixon I can see as an RB2. I can't see Cordell Patterson finishing below 12 this year. he's had one game under double digits, and then he has a 14, a 16, 18, 23, 34. Like, he's poised to be explosive, and I just like him more than others, especially now that Calvin Ridley is out for an indefinite amount of time dealing with his own issues. I mean, I just see it being the Cordell Patterson show, and he just put up 18 against like the Panthers. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, Panthers are just a dominant defense this year, and he was able to do that to him. So
it worries me a bit
Mhm.
for Kyle Pitts because we said Kyle Pitts having a down game. There's a reason to that. He was shadowed by Stephon Gilmore in this game, and I'm afraid that that's going to happen more
Mhm.
now with Ridley out, that Pitts is going to get the number one corner against or for every defense that they play against.
Mhm.
And that does scare me. I could see these running backs like we saw with early Detroit becoming a big part of this offense. And I say running backs because Mike Davis did have 5 catches in this game
Right.
and made a little bit of an impact here. So don't give up on Mike Davis yet. Obviously, if you can get some unreal value for him, then do so. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I feel a little bit better about Mike Davis going forward with this as well.
Right.
Going into Miami at Buffalo, weird game for Buffalo. I think the big story from this is the receivers on both sides kind of being a little bit unpredictable here. We talked about the Miami wide receivers on Friday, and we said, I remember something I wrote down was like, I don't know how great I feel about any of them, but I'm also starting all of them. Devontae Parker, 16.5, 8 catches for 85 yards on 11 targets. Gesicki, 3 for 48 on 4 targets with 9.8 fantasy points. And then Waddle carried up the rear with 4 catches for 29 yards on 12 targets. Not sure how many fantasy points that adds up to, but it should be just under 7. So that is it for those guys. I kind of stand with what we said on Friday. Like, I don't think we're ever going to know who the guy is going to be here.
Right.
It's just you kind of just put them in your lineup and you hope that it's the one you have.
Right. They did. I mean, Devontae Parker outperformed where I thought he was going to. But they did kind of what I thought they were going to do against Buffalo, who, like Carolina, has just been dominant this year against our on defense this year. But yeah, I mean, I played Myles Gaskins this week. I mean, Myles Gaskin had for what I consider a down week for him. His average is 17 points a game. He got 8.5. He outperformed some other notable backs, and he played Buffalo, so I am slightly optimistic about Gaskins. But yeah, Parker, Gesicki, Waddle are all like play them and then hope for the best.
Yeah, with Gaskin, I feel really good about next week because as we know, the pattern established with him is every other week.
Right.
Double digits. And I think they have a good matchup next week as well. I don't have them pulled up right now, but I believe.
Like Houston, so that should just be one of the funnest games to watch.
And it actually, looking at his schedule, does play out for the rest of the year where this could be a possibility. He plays Houston on a week we expect him to do well, and then Baltimore, and then the Jets, and then Carolina, and then the Giants. So it kind of plays out to where every other week could actually be the pattern for Myles Gaskin. As far as the Bills go, the receiver situation was also fairly interesting here. Cole Beazley was the big performer, 10 for 110. He has 21 plus fantasy points in back-to-back weeks.
Right.
Emmanuel Sanders on the other side of things was goose-egged in this one. no catches on 4 targets.
He was out there the most for any wide receiver on 77% of plays, 56 snaps. He was out there. Absolute disappointment. I saw he had 0, and I said, oh, he must have broke a leg or something. There's no way Emmanuel Sanders just goes out there and does absolutely nothing for me. Nah, he just was like, hey, throw me the ball, but like don't really throw me the ball. You know what I'm saying? So just disappointing week for those of you who were with me, which was about 50% of the leagues out there who started Emmanuel Sanders. Just big goose egg, especially against Miami. A lot of people, self included, a lot of people thought he would have a decent game against a bad team. But props to those who had Cole Beazley. And, congratulations there.
So going forward, I guess the question is, like, what do you do with Emmanuel Sanders and what do you do with Cole Beazley? Emmanuel Sanders was obviously, since week 3, had double digits in every single game, had 9.2 in week 1, and I think had 5 targets in every single game going into week 8 as well. So it seemed like that. I don't know about wide receiver 2 range, but like as a flex wide receiver 3, he was as high of an upside pick as any.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cole Beazley should be rostered as a flex. As far as Emmanuel Sanders go, I might look to trade him. Not sure what I could get for him, but I mean, I don't know. He went out there and put up a goose egg against Miami. I might even just drop him. I don't know how I feel about him right now, and I don't know how you feel as far as other fantasy owners. Just because if you don't perform against adult like Miami, who do you perform against? Like I don't understand.
I think it just brings us back to the expectation at the start of the year. There was a time where we were like, oh, you're not going to invest in really anybody outside of Diggs here, just because there's a lot of a lot of passes to go around, a lot of weapons, and not really too predictable. And then we saw Emmanuel Sanders start to put up some consistent weeks. Go, oh, Emmanuel Sanders is going to be constant in this offense. Now I think we're just right back to where we started as far as Bills pass catchers, which is you can't really trust anyone outside of Diggs right now. Going on to the Patriots, pulling the upset over the Chargers here. Big storyline, Mike Williams, less than 5 in 3 out of his last 4. Was 2 for 19 on 5 targets. Where is your panic scale on Mike Williams?
I mean, I called this earlier on, if not, I think at least 2 or 3 weeks ago. I called it. Maybe even before that, I said sell high on Williams even earlier on in the season. I called this going to come, that Keenan Allen would become the number 1 wide receiver like he should be on this offense. Might be a little late to try to sell Keenan or to sell Mike Williams. Just like people missed out on Sanders when he had the 4 good weeks. Looking back, rid of him after that. 4 is just too good for Emmanuel Sanders, I guess. Mike Williams, I think it's time to go on past him. In game, he has less than 10 targets. He only has 1 game above double digits. So the dude needs volume to be efficient, is what the numbers are saying. He needs it. I mean,
when he hasn't gotten 9 targets, which is he's gotten 9 plus targets in 4 games. He's gotten less. He's either gotten 9 plus or he's gotten less than 5.
Right.
And in those 9 plus games, putting up at least 22 points, and then in those 5 or less games, putting up under 5 points. So, and those were also 3 of the last 4 weeks, as we mentioned. I'm a little less worried. I mean, if I was in a situation where I was depending on Mike Williams to be my top receiver, I would be worried. But if Mike Williams is my wide receiver 2, I think I'm okay. I think I'll be like, or I'm not panic selling him at this point. I'm worried. I think it's impossible not to be worried. But I'm also kind of like, they play Philly and then they play Minnesota in the next 2, and they play Pittsburgh, who hasn't necessarily been great against the pass this year, although they played quite well against Cleveland.
Right.
I'm a little less worried. I don't think like you have to sell him now or his value is going to get worse. I think it's going to get better, and then you can sell him if you want to. But I still think that this offense is going to figure it out, especially when they're not playing New England.
So New England takes away your best guy, which would have been Austin Eckler, just based on the fact that he absolutely can't here. And then Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen has been on a tear. So I don't think main focus was him, but if you want to think that, I'll let you. Mike Williams is wide receiver team right now, above names like Brandon Cook, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Lockett, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown. He just dropped more. I think all those guys have a better at finishing above him. Well, Amari and Tyler Lockett are a little bit closer just because they're also number 2s on their team. But I think that just Deontay Keenan, those guys for sure, Cooks for sure, Robert Woods for sure. And so I think he just drops down to the low 20s and still a wide receiver. I think you should utilize it a couple weeks ago if you weren't listening to me earlier on in the season. But you should utilize him now. Try to get rid of him for one of these guys, not Cortland, because I think Cortland continues to drop too, just with Jerry back. We kind of saw him put up a 6-point stud of a game, but I think get rid of him guys back behind him who I think we both agree are going to continue to move up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the problem is I don't think you're getting AJ Brown for him.
I mean,
or Deontay or Keenan or stuff like that, just because they had good weeks.
I mean, I said to get rid of him a while ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I agree. We both had him.
He was not inside my top.
I don't know if he made our top. I think he was 12 in our top.
He was 12. He did not.
Yeah, and I took him there.
He didn't make the top 15.
So I think that compares pretty consistently to like I don't know if I would have him there right now, but I think it compares pretty consistently to both at least our positions on him, where I'm a little bit more positive of him figuring it out, because there's also some guys in the top 10 right now, like Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman, and I think he'll finish ahead of Cooks, but some guys that like he is ahead of, or some guys that are ahead of him. I know Cooks is behind him, but that I think he can finish ahead of as well. So I like Mike Williams just because I like this offense. I think they're going to continue to move the ball and a little bit better than they have the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to do that, which I believe they are, Mike Williams is going to have to be involved in some way. I would say just suspend the belief that he is going to finish as like a guy that's going to put up 30 points or 20 points every week like he was, and maybe be a little bit more in that wide receiver 2 range.
I mean, just a Chris Godwin slander. Chris Godwin has 70 targets, 17 red zone targets, leading the team in both for Tampa Bay. So I think he has a better shot to finish above him for sure. Kind of with you with Pittman, just if Hilton comes back. But if Hilton doesn't come back, TY, by the way, I think Pittman has a chance to. They're going to have to throw. They're going to have to throw to someone, and I think Pittman is showing like I can be that guy. That's only if T.Y.'s continues to have this roller coaster health issue.
Well, let's get into Godwin. I switched at the last minute because you brought that up. My big thing for this Tampa Bay team, or this whole game in general, really the only thing I had written down was that Godwin seems like one of the clearest sell high guys to me. He has 25 points in his last 2 games. Obviously, in those last 2 games, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not have Antonio Brown. I've probably done that like 10 times, and we're not even halfway through the season yet. They didn't have Antonio Brown, and I think when Antonio Brown comes back, which is expected to be after this bye week, those numbers, I don't think Godwin's going to be bad, but those numbers are going to have to dip. And I just think that like as a wide receiver 7 on the year right now, like if you can get somebody for him that will finish around wide receiver 7, I would try to do that because I don't think it will be Chris Godwin.
Okay. I mean, just for transparency reasons, Antonio Brown played weeks 1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Godwin in those games had 4 red zone targets week 1, 1 week 2, 1 week 4, 4 week 5, and 3 week 6. Tom Brady being an immaculate passer and Chris Godwin being, I'm going to say, above average, if not in the upper echelon of getting open, clearly. I think he has a good, if not great, chance of catching touchdown passes from the GOAT himself. Also, when Antonio Brown played, he had 14, 5, 5, 11, and 5 in terms of targets. So only 2 games with 10 plus, but the fact that you're getting those red zone looks, they account for much more than someone who's getting 10 looks, but all of them are 5 yards downfield and none of them are in the red zone. So I think Chris Godwin, I think you should sell high, but I don't think you sell yourself short. I'm not doing a Chris Godwin for a Mike Williams trade. That is crazy to me.
I think you could get more at this point. Like, I think you could get Mike Williams and somebody. Not to say that I necessarily think Mike Williams is going to finish behind God. I think there's a fairly decent chance that Mike Williams could finish ahead of Chris Godwin. I think it's pretty much a coin flip, I would say.
So, all right, put that down. I'll take your bet. I think Chris Godwin finishes above him in wide receiver rankings.
I think there's a shot. Like I said, I think it's a coin flip, but I'm willing to take the bet. Although we have a million season-long bets, and I don't remember any of them.
I remember all.
I think we have to stick with.
No, I'll just let you know at the end of the year how many I got right.
One of them you had was like Devin Singletary will finish higher than somebody, and I don't know who my choice was.
I said Devin Singletary finished higher than Zach Moss because we were talking about those 2 guys.
I'm
wrong.
Okay. I guess I don't even have to write it down because you have it in your little Rolodex there. So who would it be for Godwin? I want to do this fairly quickly because we already went a while, but like, would you do a...
I would do it for an Adam Thielen. I'd do it for a Justin Jefferson, a Stephon Diggs, a Deontay Johnson, a Keenan Allen, someone who is poised to be the number, well, minus, Adam Thielen, but poised to be close to the number 1 guy and obviously on the rise. I would probably try to get like a flex play wide receiver along with that, just because I think Godwin just performed so magnificently recently that you just utilize that to your advantage and try to snag like a bench wide receiver too. But yeah, one of those guys I would feel comfortable with. I think above them anyway, but I like the chance of them moving up in the rankings and having good weeks for you too. So
going on to Jacksonville at Seattle. The big news is probably after this game, James Robinson avoided serious injury. He is listed as day-to-day with his status for next week as questionable. Outside of that, I think you can talk about both Seattle wide receivers going off, but my big takeaway from this is I talked about Laviska Shenault being like a possible buy low.
right.
And now I'm starting to get a little nervous that Jamal Agnew could be the new Laviska. 6 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown. He had 12 targets. This is a guy who was brought in to be a kick return specialist, and now they're starting to utilize him on offense in the short area of the field. I thought that was going to be what Laviska was utilized for. The good thing about Jamal Agnew in comparison to Laviska is you don't have to trade anything for Jamal Agnew because he is available. I feel comfortable saying pretty much anywhere.
92% of leagues he is available.
So it's a real shucks. It's actually 90. I think it's 98.3% of leagues.
Wait, what did I say?
92.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It's 98. My bad.
But still, regardless, a lot of leagues Jamal Agnew is available in, and I'm sure we may talk about him more tomorrow.
I said I like Jamal Agnew, and Dan the Man was back, so that was cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was really all I had for Jacksonville. I put DK goes like 30 plays without a target every single time. Like he gets a target, great, and like 30 plays pass. Like look at him. I'm like, why? It's DK Metcalf.
That's why I hate having DK is because like he's not a volume guy, but he doesn't need to be a volume guy either.
Right. I mean, he went 6 for 6, 43 yards and 2 touchdowns, which saved his day because otherwise he would have had 10 fantasy points if he didn't get those touchdowns. But
he does because he's huge. Like he's a huge red zone target. Perfect red zone target.
Red zone target. And I mean, also, like, I don't think they trust Tyler Lockett in the red zone quite as much.
Agree.
Like
just physically the build, like.
Right. I mean, I think DK talk though. Like when he's out there, I think that's why they throw away from him. He won't get the calls. Like watching him play, runs his mouth to the ref and won the entire game. And I'm like, you're big, so like you can do it. Like I'm not gonna stop you. But like I'm sure at some point the refs are just like, if he gets horse collared, I'm pretty sure they're just like, didn't see was running, and I was like, I'd be okay. Like, would not cry. He does only have 8 red zone targets on the year, though. Does that not scare you?
He what?
He only has 8 red zone targets on the year.
I mean, it doesn't scare me as much because they've had Geno Smith. So, like,
well, I mean,
how much do the other people on the team have? I guess would be more of my concern. Like, where is the percentage as far as red zone?
All right, so Alex Collins has Chris Carter missed the past 4 weeks. Wide receiver, no one, but DK had every single week 5, 6, 7, and so yes, big red zone guy. Like if you're in the red zone, throw to him. He's big, but Chris Godwin has double him.
Oh yeah, but I'm not worried about.
Right,
I guess my thing is more that it's a product of the Seattle offense not having Russell Wilson and not being in the red zone as much. Because if you look for Seattle, he has 9 targets from where I'm getting it from. It says he has 9 red zone targets, and 7 of those completions and 6 of those touchdowns. I don't know if it's updated or what it's on.
No. Well,
I have a different source than you.
Week 1 through 5? Like when does he get that 9th one?
This is the whole year. Oh.
I mean, I'm on. These people have it broke down by game. They're pretty accurate now.
But I'm on.
Not gonna.
It doesn't matter. We're one off, but
He has 8 touchdowns on the year, though. Like, he literally gets 1 per red zone target. I'm not sure if that's just kind of how it adds up. Obviously, watching the games, he doesn't just get hit in the red zone. Sometimes he runs it. But, does that not scare you at least a little bit?
No, just because his red zone target percentage in comparison to his team,
Mhm.
he has 37.5% of the red zone targets. So for that reason, it doesn't scare me.
For the whole team, because I don't think for the team that's accurate.
What do you mean?
I mean, how much does Alex Collins have then?
I don't know. What site are you on or source?
Footballguys.com/stats/redzone/team.
Okay, well, I didn't hear that.
I mean, it's footballguys.com, and then you just
no, but I know.
But these guys are saying Alex Collins has 11.
Is it red zone touches or red zone snaps?
Red zone
or catches?
Red zone stats, so I assume it's looks.
Okay, so it's just touches. I'm on a site that's giving me red zone targets, so receptions exclusively.
I mean, this looks like, obviously, Seahawks. Alex Collins doesn't have 11 touchdowns. So this is looks. This is anytime they give you the ball or throw you the ball. So
okay, yeah, and I have just the targets. So I am saying he has 37.5% of the targets in the red zone. Next closest is Lockett and Swain with 5, according to this. So that is, as far as that goes, I am not too worried because he has almost double the amount of looks of the other wide receivers there. So that doesn't really worry me as much for DK.
Do you think he's finishing as wide receiver 5 then?
I probably wouldn't say that. I think he's a wide receiver 1, and a lot of people, I think, are a little bit more worried about him because of just what DK is, which is not a high volume guy. So it's a pain to have on your team because you're like, all right, DK, let's get it going here. Let's get it going here. But then he'll catch a ball for 40 yards or he'll have an 80-yard touchdown like he had last week. So he's a little it's a little stressful to have him on your team. But I think in the end, he will finish as a wide receiver 1. And he's been consistent too.
Would you rather have DK or DJ Moore?
I would rather have DK at this point.
I want DJ Moore. DJ Moore has 25 more targets and 5 less touchdowns. So touchdown regression. I mean, unless DK literally just only catches touchdowns now the rest of the year, DJ Moore is going to elapse him. I mean, same with.
I don't think. I'm just worried. Sam Darnold. It's not me being worried about DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is awesome, and I had DJ Moore ahead of DK.
Right.
It's just me since then seeing that Sam Darnold is not what he was the first 3 weeks of the season. Hopefully McCaffrey fixes that, but I would love to see DJ Moore finish higher.
Yeah, I think he will. I would look to, if I could trade DK for DJ Moore, I would, is what I'm trying to say.
Interesting. We have to keep going, but that's an interesting proposition. Washington at Denver. Speaking of stars that are scary,
I wanted to talk about this to you.
I think I can try to gauge the panic level on both of Washington football team's star players. Antonio Gibson, 8 for 34 with 3 catches for 20 yards as well, 8.4 fantasy points. And Terry McLaurin, 3 for 23 on 7 targets. And he also had a rush for 12 yards to put him at 6.5 fantasy points. Where is little panic meter 1 to 10, your concern on both of these guys?
So on Antonio Gibson, I kind of said this, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. I'd look to move him just because he's banged up. So I like having healthy people on my team more than I do having people who are going to be out there, but like don't know if they're gonna get hurt. So for him, kind of there. For Scary Terry, I think I said this to you almost all season. How Scary Terry is scary for a reason. We were both kind of high. You were a little bit higher. You said it's Halloween. If you don't start Scary Terry, when else do you start him? I think that kind of came back to bite you in the butt. I mean, not as much as starting Emmanuel Sanders did.
It still worked out in the end for me.
I mean, for you personally, but for like everyone as a whole. I think Scary.
We don't have to call everyone a-holes.
I can say a whatever. Anyway, I think this is what you get with Terry McLaurin. You get weeks that he'll go out and he'll drop 25 points, and then you get weeks that he just gets outscored by no name Harry over here. So I mean, if someone that Raji out almost double Scary Terry's point production this week, I'd say you're crazy. It's Halloween. Probably only 4 points above him. And I'd be right because he got 10 points. So, I mean, it's tough, I guess. My panic level is where it's been the entire time, where I'd say Scary Terry can be good. We obviously know that, but he can be good for someone else. Like, I'd rather have someone on my team who I can count on, like low on Ian Allen a couple weeks ago when Scary Terry dropped 30 points. I think you could have made that trade. So, I don't know. Panic level is a little bit higher, I guess.
I'd say Antonio Gibson, if you drafted him, I think the panic level is very high. I think it's probably an 8 out of 10. If I had to put a number on it.
High. That's high.
Yeah. But I also think, like we said, they have a bye week this week. He might have a chance to rest up. I don't really know if a stress fracture, you're just sit on it for a week and you'll be okay. So I don't know if that's going to fix everything, but I think this is a point where his value is so, and we talked about this last week, it's starting to get so low that it's almost like he is a buy low. If you don't have to get any, trade anything for him, or if you can trade.
If you could trade Odell Beckham for Antonio Gibson, I think I would.
I don't know if you can do that, but I think if you could trade an Adam Thielen for an Antonio Gibson, and I don't want to say, it's hard to say Michael Pittman after having a monster week, but
I don't think you can say Michael Pittman and expect to get Adam Thielen and also give up someone else. I mean,
but if you could do Adam Thielen for Antonio Gibson and a solid wide receiver, I think you could do that.
I mean, if you could do it for Antonio Gibson and Brandon Cooks for Adam Thielen, I think you do that just because both Brandon and Antonio Gibson are a little scary just to have on your team. One just being on the Houston Texans with a third-string quarterback, one having a stress factor.
I agree there. That was a good example. It's weird. Both of these teams are kind of similar in regards of it feels as if the quarterback position, or maybe just the overall offensive productivity, is holding the weapons back a little bit. Antonio Gibson, I guess, is more injury wise, but Terry, it just feels like they cannot, the quarterback just can't get him the ball. Watching a lot of Washington football team, that's what it feels like.
You were so high on.
I was coming into the year. I had him as the wide receiver 6. I obviously don't feel the same about him now, but that's the reason that I have him in a lot of places. And I think he is, because I don't think him as a player is boom bust, but I think him in his situation is, he's kind of fallen into that Amari Cooper, Mike Evans kind of role of a boom bust wide receiver, and maybe not even on the upper end of Mike Evans, because I think Terry's only had 3 double-digit weeks.
Terry has a double-digit week. No,
Maybe in full point, it's different.
He went
Yeah,
full.
in full, he had those two that would be 10.2, and in half, obviously, would be less. But and 3 of the last 4 in single digits. So I'm a little bit nervous. He's kind of like a boom bust wide receiver too, is what I would say.
Yeah. If you can get rid of him, like I've been saying for most of the year, maybe listen now and get rid of him. But hey, who am I to tell you how to live life? Just trying to help you.
Going on to the late game.
Tough game.
Yeah, obviously a tough one for Toady here.
Great game for Amari Cooper. If you had Amari Cooper, 8 for 30, 22 yards and a touchdown to seal the game. Beautiful from Amari Cooper. I was a little wrong about this game. I said,
we both were.
Yeah, I think both were. I said that Zeke and Pollard were going to have monster games, and they combined for 14, 15. So it was tough to watch, especially when Ty Johnson outscores both of these running backs by himself. So I was a little wrong. I didn't think Cooper Rush was going to be the next Peyton Manning. Might have, limit some guys' potential.
Yeah, I was worried about Cooper Rush. I said that on the show. You were a little bit higher on him than I was, but that is where I was wrong. I was worried about Dallas being able to throw the ball, and they did that pretty well.
No problem.
So, and I was a little bit, I guess we were wrong in very different areas because I was a little bit down on Zeke and Pollard just because I thought they were going to be able to key in on them because of the lack of the passing game. They did key in on the rush, but if you watch the game, they were just so soft on the outside, kind of like they're playing like 10 yards off of these guys, just trying to not allow big plays. Worked sometimes, didn't work other times. On the Minnesota side of the ball, I would say don't overreact to the Viking stars' disappointing performances. Obviously, Justin Jefferson had a down week. So did Dalvin.
Right.
Don't overreact to the Viking stars, and I put besides Thielen because I have Thielen.
Thielen, Thielen, someone's going to perform every week, I feel like, for this team. Most weeks will be all three of them, Thielen, Jefferson, and Cook. But at minimum, one of them is going to perform for you. This week it was Thielen, which was good for Thielen owners. But yeah, Justin Jefferson's not going to go 2 for 4, 21 yards every week. He would have had like a 30, 40-yard bomb to get the Vikings inside the 5. But Diggs was just, relentlessly harassing. I won't say other words on air, but just pissed about that. They did call it, but should have ejected him from the game. Unsportsmanlike at the minimum. So many calls that should have just happened, but didn't. But anyway, Dalvin Cook's not going to be stopped like this week in and week out. They didn't really stop him on the ground. It's just didn't get much besides. He didn't get anything besides the run. So yards didn't help him this time with no touchdown. Tyler Conklin, if anyone listened to me and put him on their team, doesn't look like many people did. Didn't get much of a start, only 10%. But 10 points from your tight end here. I think that's pretty good for this week. So, I think he was like tight end 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Literally tight end 8. So, if you listen to me, congratulations. If not, I'm glad you started, everyone. Noah Fant, Aston 1-8, Schultz. So, it's going to 2 on Tyler Conklin.
Now, before we get into the questions, let's just quickly, because I know if we go to questions first, we will just not talk about the Monday Night Football game because that seems to be what happens. It is the Giants at Kansas City. A lot riding on this. Obviously, can Kansas City get right? Can the Giants pull off another win like they did last week? Another surprise where they blew out the Carolina Panthers. Also, can Sterling Shepard just save your fantasy week?
He can. Just not going to happen. Sadly, Ricky Seals-Jones to my team instead of Duke Johnson. This would be the week Duke Johnson just play. But no, Sterling Shepard should have a decent game, though. Same with Tony and Devontae Booker. Slayton is Ingram, but with Saquon Galladay out, I think, especially Kansas City, they're not much against they're not allowing any fancy points to wide receivers, but you can.
They're not, they're not much of a challenge against anybody so far this year.
Right.
But yeah, it seems like they. I kind of feel bad for the Giants because I think all signs point to this being like a Kansas City get right game.
Yeah.
Prime time, obviously not playing up to the standards, and that kind of all culminating and being at its lowest of lows last week against the Titans. The Giants didn't ask for this to be broadcast on Monday Night Football and just probably get slaughtered by a team that's a lot better than them.
Right.
Shepard and Tony, you might have mentioned this, but they're true questionables, like game time decisions. You're starting Booker. You're definitely starting, I would say, Slayton if both of those guys aren't to play, and then maybe Evan Ingram as well. Galladay and Barkley both out, like you said. So those are the guys from that side of things. And then Kansas City is pretty much all, I would say, obvious as well.
Yeah, they got
what?
I said they got the green light. Start them all.
Yeah.
Let them rip.
I don't think you don't have much of a choice at this point in time. You can't really start anyone else. So
I'm not going to live their fancy life, Kondo. Okay.
What was that?
I'm not going to tell someone how to live their fancy life. If they want to,
it's their fantasy.
Yeah, if they want to start Tyreek, start him. If they don't start him this week. I'm not going to yell at you.
It was tough. This was a tough week for the show.
It was not a good week for the show.
That is very clear.
But good news, Kondo and I are expecting. So,
I got Hill, and I am down 18.86 in PPR. Thoughts?
Hopefully. I mean, if it's a Kansas City right game, you should be good to go.
Tyreek or Travis Kelce are going to have at least 19, so I would just hope that it's going to be Tyreek.
For your sake, I think it's going to be Tyreek.
I have Slayton. He has Booker. I'm down 7.9 PPR. Thoughts? Hope that Booker does not get a touchdown and Slayton does. That's really my only thought.
Good luck.
Did we hate on the Jets?
I mean, a little bit. We always do. It's fine.
I mean, it's hard not to. Crowder is getting traded. That would be interesting if he does. I feel like that could help his fantasy value for sure. We showed this one.
Yeah.
Carter is a low-end running back too.
Yeah, I mean, sure. He could be.
I'm 3-5. My team should be stacked with Herbert, Cook, Keenan Allen, who are supposed to be leading the way. Those three have been meh, to say the least. Should I shake my whole team up or stay the course? I think I know what Cody's going to say.
What am I going to say? What?
And it's not a bad thing because I might agree with you. So I want to tell Michael Chapp, thank you for participating here. I want to tell you this. Last year, I started the season, I think I was like 1-4, and I traded in 1 week quite legitimately everyone on my team. I think I made like 5 trades in 1 week, including a trade where I acquired Chris Godwin and then traded him for Mike Evans and something, and then traded Mike Evans for someone else, like all in the same week. It was like quite possibly my greatest fantasy football achievement. That team from then on, I think, lost like 1 game. It was a little too late, too too late. But I am not one to go against just throwing it out the window and saying, yeah, let's just trade everybody on this team. I think that might be, would be very hard for me to trade Dalvin Cook, but everyone else, like, yeah. Like Keenan Allen off of a good game. If you can get somebody that's in that wide receiver 1 range, like I would probably do that. Definitely wouldn't rule out trading Herbert if you can get something. If you could get like a Russ, if you can afford to miss like one more week or something like that, you could probably trade Herbert for Russ and someone else too. So,
I mean, I am always supportive trades, so I'm not like against it. I start your team up, but like don't short sell yourself if you want to like actually try to win.
agreed.
If your goal is to win, maybe hold on to Keenan and Cook. Herbert, I'm more okay with shipping away. I think it'd be tougher for you, but I think you can stream the quarterback position. If not, just find someone who, like, you could trade Herbert away for a wide receiver and a junky quarterback, and then just like use the quarterback certain weeks and stream another one another week. And I'm not against doing that, but again, it's your team. You have to know what your preference is and how like crazy you want it to be.
Great. This is a 2-parter from the Second Take Extra. The Saints beat both the Packers and the Buccaneers. The Giants beat the Saints. Washington beat the Giants. The Bills beat Washington. The Titans beat the Bills. The Jets beat the Titans. Therefore, the Jets are the best team in the NFL. I can't argue with that logic.
Can't argue with it.
What trade would you do? Shout out Randon. I do have the depth at running back! Exclamation point. So I'm going into this trade having that expectation. The trade would be Javonte Williams and Woods for Diggs. The other trade would be Javonte Williams and Scary Terry for Diggs, or no deal at all. What should I do?
Javonte Williams and Scary Terry for Diggs. Keep Robert Woods. Been saying this for a while. Get rid of Scary Terry. I think you can benefit more with a Woods Diggs combo and whoever else your other wide receiver is than a Scary Terry Diggs combo.
I would definitely do one of them. I think that it depends what your team needs. Like we talked about Terry being boom bust. If that's what you need,
If you get 0 or 5 points for you or 3 points for you, then go for it.
Well, if you want, I mean, he has more upside than Robert Woods as well.
I mean, Robert Woods, I'm gonna look what his lowest week has been so far. I don't think it's very.
Well, that doesn't have as much to do with upside.
Well, I'm just saying, Robert Woods.
That's what I literally just said. I said Robert Woods is safer, but Terry has more upside.
27-point week though. Like, if he gets the volume that Scary Terry gets and putting up,
he's not going to because he's not the number one.
I mean, this week he got 9 targets and put up 20 points.
Mm-hmm. But I just don't think consistently he's going to get that volume or as much volume as Terry's going to get.
I like having a Woods Diggs combo for safety. Scary Terry is literally quite scary, and
Yeah, if you want to be a little safer with it, I think that is the right way to go. I think it's up to preference.
Yeah.
At that point. So, do I pick up Taysom Hill after the Winston news? He would be my QB2 in a QB1 league. Drop Madison or Gainwell. I would. We'll talk more about Taysom.
If he had Winston, wouldn't you just drop Winston? Winston.
I don't know if Winston he has Winston or if just picking up Taysom Hill.
Is out for season. Like, that was news that came on during the show. He's out for season.
I don't know that the Second Take Extra has Jameis.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping he would comment.
But if you do not, I would drop probably Gainwell and pick him. Like I'm going to talk about. I can tell you right now, I'm going to talk about Taysom Hill tomorrow, for sure.
Oh, finally a quarterback out of your mouth.
Is Pratt? I talk about quarterback. We will get right back to that swing. Does not have Winston, so I would drop.
Yeah, gotta get. Well,
Is Pat Fryermuth legit? I don't know yet. I'm a little bit more optimistic or like holding out a little bit more than Cody is. I think if you want to add him as like speculative addition, I would do that, but I'm not sure that I would waste like my number one waiver claim on him or anything like that.
right. I mean, I guess position is everything in this context. If I have a 1-5 pick, I don't think I'm taking Pat Freiermuth, but if I'm, picking 10, 11, 12, sure, why not waste it on a tight end? He had a good week, could potentially have more good weeks, but he could also just be a dud. So,
Which player scores a touchdown and also a score prediction for tonight? Scores a touchdown. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill.
Yep, I'm with you.
If I had to pick one, I feel like that's a good choice. And then score. Let's go 31-13, Kansas City.
I want to go 28-12, Kansas City.
A 12er. You said so. Is this a big Graham Gano game, or is he going to miss an extra point?
I think he's.
Or are they going to go for 2?
I think he's going to get 2 field goals, and then they're going to score somehow miraculously, and he's just going to doink it, and it's going to miss.
Okay, that's good to know. That's not going to happen.
Jets will beat the Colts on Thursday. I think so. I think
everyone wants to claim this Mike White guy is like the future, which I think is kind of wild from Jets land.
I think it's wild that that you're so quick to dismiss Mike White as a
I'm not quick to dismiss him. I think it's wild that people are so quick to crown him.
But no, you crowned Trey Lance and Justin Fields and
I didn't crown them. I just said they're not. You are calling them garbage, and I don't think they're garbage. I don't think Mike White is your starting quarterback for the next 10 years.
He could be. You never know.
He could be, but I just don't think
Brady came in.
One game in is the time to decide that.
I think you're just being a little hypocritical to the fans here.
I do not think so. Just like I spoke, I don't want to speak too soon. We still have Sterling Shepard tonight, but just like I spoke my absolute potential wreckage over Toady this week into existence, the Colts are going to bash the Jets next week. Super Bowl prediction. I actually want to pull this. I did preseason Super Bowl prediction. Didn't post it anywhere, but I did do it.
Doesn't count.
I don't know how accurate it's going to be. Do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
I want to hear yours first, Kondo.
I have to pull mine up, so that's why I asked you.
Whoa. Why you gotta pull it up like that, Kondo? I thought you have it ready.
I don't remember. I did it week 1. I know the Titans are on there, which is not something that I would agree with now.
So I don't know who it's kind of tough. Just like Titans, if someone asked me earlier on in the season, I probably would have said Titans had a good chance. I don't know. I think I gotta go. I know it's as far as like the NFL, like I think it's either gonna be Rams or Bucks on their respective side, and I think they're gonna play. I want to say they're gonna play either the Chargers or Baltimore. So I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go Chargers, Tampa Bay. That's my Super Bowl prediction.
Interesting. I thought there was a real possibility there. No offense, Cody. that you were going to choose either 2 AFC teams or 2 NFC teams.
I mean, I could have. I was like,
but like put on the spot, I wouldn't have been like blamed you too much. I was just hoping for the comedic aspect of it that may have been the choice.
I'm like kind of smart when it comes to football. Like not, I don't want to like toot my horn. Like I'm like, I'm no sexy Rexy, but like I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
I said Green Bay, Tennessee to start the season.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Green Bay could make it. I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay does show up. But Tennessee is very unlikely now that they lost their workhorse and his yard leader on their team.
Yeah, I don't love that pick. But I feel like because I said it in the preseason and both teams are solid right now, I feel like I can keep that. So that will be the one that I go with.
Yeah.
Second take extra, put Packers Chiefs. We'll see if the Chiefs will be able to turn it around tonight.
Hey,
I've also seen the second take extra putting up some stuff about Mike White and the Jets winning by a lot. Second take extra, love you, but come on now. Like let's be honest.
Don't worry, I'll stand up for second take extra, being the number one fan that he is. Weekend
win by 5. I agree. He number 1 in the power rankings for sure among the fans, but maybe not if the Jets actually win. I think that is the one thing that could send the second take extra down. And through no wrongdoing of zone.
I'm kind of with second take extra. I like his call. Mike White over 250 yards. I like that. I think that's a good guess right there.
I don't know. Wentz. I think you're looking at this wrong from saying Wentz choked again. We are slamming Wentz for the interceptions, but like he threw 3 ugly interceptions, but he also only has 3 interceptions. Let's look at this, put a little spin on this. That's not a lot of interceptions. I think Carson Wentz, maybe because I have to, but I think Carson Wentz figures it out. I'm going to say right now, yeah. I think we're going to hang up 35 on him.
Hey, who knows? Who knows?
But that is it for us today. Cody, I think we're at 147.
I said it's going to be a 2-hour show. You said hour and a half. We're about to 145.
Yeah, we compromised.
I said we should go for about an hour and a half. You said likely. So we almost made it. We almost made it this time.
Yeah.
We're getting better.
So that is it for us. You don't throw a pick at the 2-yard line. I don't. Carson Wentz does. And he did. And he will learn from that mistake. I hope. That is it for us. Thank you for watching. As always, we're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. I don't really feel like giving the spiel right now. If you want to support us, please do. We greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah.
Hope all your Monday Night Miracles come true. Cody, do you have any last things to say?
Love you. Love everyone.
Oh, my God. Well, that was very nice. We will be back tomorrow to give our waiver breakdowns and recap this game.
Maybe something fun.
Maybe nothing fun. We will see.